For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The school board will convene to close session tonight to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, paren 1, paren C, district administrator evaluation, 2020-21 administration staffing needs, administrative contracts, support staff salary schedule, teacher salary ladder, and stipend positions. So, welcome guests. We did have a proclamation in our packet from Governor Evers honoring school bus drivers for School Bus Driver Appreciation Week. If anybody didn't see it on Facebook, if you want me to send the link, there's a really cute video that the students did, honoring saying thanks to the bus drivers. If you didn't see that, let me know and I can send you the link. So we appreciate them. Are there any items that anyone would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, then the consent agenda is approved by consent, including the donations from the Stella Maris Parish for $792.50 to the Lunch Angel program, and the Sevastopol Music, Art, and Theater Group, known as MAT, for $800 for the sound system. Thanks to those groups. Next action item is the resolution awarding the sale of $5,100,000 in general obligation promissory notes. Mr. Clark, Mike Clark is here from Baird tonight.
Okay, this is
Walk us through that.
I have handouts at your seats. Each will have to share if you want to.
You should have a large handout like this as well.
And then there's a copy of the final resolution prepared by Quarles and Brady. And the title at the top of that resolution, that's the motion that's needed. But I'll be walking through this form here. We priced the bonds today. This is the second phase, and it was great timing. The rates are very low, especially on the short end, which is the shorter. Remember, the first phase, we kind of did the longer end back a year ago. And then we're kind of filling in the top at this point. And originally we were going to have one long year out here, but rates between the first phase and this phase came in so well, we actually shortened our repayment by a year. So these are promissory notes. They only go out 10 years. So they're notes instead of bonds, but they're still general obligations. The district 5.1, this 5.1 will be, the full amount will be available for projects. District for the referendum. A settlement date will be March 16th, 2020. That will be the day the money comes into the district. It will work with the district in terms of the wiring of the funds. I think you're working with ADM or PMA or ADM, and we'll coordinate with them, I would imagine, to get the money deposited where you'd like it. First interest payment will be September 1 of 2020. Call date is March 1 of 2027. Moody's affirmed the district's AA3 rating. Same rating the district had last time. Rating reports at the end, and I'll make a few comments on that. But the interest rate we were able to get was 1.87% for 10 years, which is, we haven't seen below 2% recently. There have been a couple others that I can think of that have been lower, but they've been like AAA and Waukesha Technical College, which is 2 notches above your rating, and they've been in the 1.6s. So very happy with this rate. I mean, it's very interesting time. I'm very anxious for these April referendums to get passed so we can start issuing some debt. So if you go to the illustration on the next page, this one here shows the initial phase. We did the short-term financing back in January, came back in March, did the refinancing of that. Again, the band was $20 million. The refinancing, because of premium, we only had to issue $18.89 million long-term but you still have the full 20 million for projects, I'll make that clear. And then the final phase 2, 5.1 of notes, and again, we had some premium, you see it in the parentheses. Basically, with interest rates as low as they are, both on the first phase and this phase, the buyers are giving more than face value to get the coupons higher on the bonds. The yields are really low, but they want coupons higher, so they give you more to make up for that difference. So, but your all-in costs, all-in interest cost is 1.87. The premium will be used to offset payments the first few years. And then the column with the colors here, the salmon color and kind of, I guess, mauvish, shows the drop in the levy in next year, in 21, 22. And that, obviously, the district has an operating question in place. It was a 2-year.
Correct.
And I think there's been some, potentially as soon as this November, going back to the voters, which would give you November and then April to renew, which means you're passing the resolutions in August for the next. I'm assuming the district's probably in a position to want to renew that at some level. So that drop will provide some flexibility if that amount increases so you have the current amount, the 2 million in place, plus a little drop here that we structured in to allow you to have kind of a neutral tax impact. So that would come up very quickly for you, I'm sure. Summer seems, I know it seems a long ways off, but it's flying by. So then we level off the 1.7, and then we have another drop out there a little further. So again, it's a great result. A year shorter repayment, lower interest rates, better structure. Because originally we didn't have that drop built in. It was 2 million out for quite a ways. The rates came in lower to allow us to build that drop in. It probably helped with the operating referendum. And the last couple pages are the credit rating. Again, AA3 is a very strong rating. There's AAA, which there's 4 in the state. There's AA1, which would be your Appletons. AA2, which I believe Green Bay is, and then AA3 is on the AA level. There's 3 levels that go into single A, 1, 2, 3, and then below. So it's a very, very good rating. Obviously, the tax base is very strong. The size of your district, your enrollment is very small. So to get the AA level is tremendous. And then just shows some strength in credit challenges, small overpopulation, enrollment fluctuations, and then things that might cause to go up. Moderate your debt burden. That's just going to take time. You should pay that down. Enrollment growth, which you can't control. And then things that could cause to go down. The tax base starts to erode, your valuation declines, which there were a couple of years, but things seem to be strengthening. Spending down your fund balance is very strong, but they like seeing planned one-time expenditures and not reliance on fund balance to cover operating. That's the area that they get most concerned about. So, and then if your enrollment really starts to decline, those would be concerns. Those are my only comments on the report. With that, I'll take any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Mike? No. For anyone listening online, that $5.1 million is part of the referendum that was passed in November of 2018. So it's not new money, it's part of the referendum money. It's the last part of it.
And just to point out that you'll have 3 years to spend this 5.1, not that it'll probably take that long, before you run into what they call arbitrage issues, which you probably won't run into anyway, but just so you should probably focus on spending the first issue dollars first. To what extent and we can work with Carl on that is probably, I think we mentioned it to the Disclosure Council.
Right.
You want to keep the funds kind of recorded separately between the two issues in case you would ever get an IRS audit. It just makes things simpler. But we can work with Carl on it.
Aaron, we have to leave a door open for open records, open meetings. So Mike, the motion needs to be this whole first paragraph?
No, just the capitalized portion.
Just the capitalized portion.
Yep.
Okay, so resolution awarding. So would someone like to make that motion as printed in capital letters on this thicker packet we have from Aaron?
I'll move to approve the resolution awarding the sale of $5.1 million general obligation promissory note.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for coming and walking through that tonight. Have safe travel back.
Thank you.
Watch the deer.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has to be signed. Okay, then we will move to administrator reports. Mr. Hiltz.
Just a couple of things to highlight. Coming up next week, we have a graphic novel author. Mr. Nathan Hale will be coming and speaking to our students. We're looking forward to that. And then early in March, we have our Literacy Day, Dr. Seuss Day. The theme is Can't Read a Lot, and we're looking forward to those things.
Ms. Marble.
In addition to the report that I have a small, a short presentation that I'd like to do to give you an update on the accelerated programming and gifted and talented. So I think Stephen has that ready for me. But it's time that you got a thorough update on what's happening.
Well, she's setting up. Aaron, can I just ask you a quickie? When you did the lockdown drill,
Yes.
do the students know what's going to happen?
For this time around, we did let the teachers know so that they had a chance to talk to the students about what was going to happen. Not necessarily when it was going to happen, anything that specific, but to at least prepare and be comfortable with what the process was going to be. Then we made an announcement. We made it very clear that it was a drill and not something that was live. And then they went into the areas that they were supposed to go in. We did a check. We went and looked at all the rooms. And it was just very impressive, I think, as I had mentioned in the report.
Yeah.
Carl walked with me, and as we were checking different rooms, he said it was almost eerie how quiet the building was. It felt like you might have been here on a Saturday. It was that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So I really wanted the opportunity to speak with you, to give you a really good update about what the research and what I've been doing this year and what I would like to propose for the future for Sevastopol. So to give you an update, we had just finished the COGAT assessments. We did our first round on February 12th and we did our second round on February 19th. But to start in the beginning, we needed to determine what would be the testing criteria to get kids grades 3rd through 12 to see where are our students, who is out there. And through talking with other gifted and talented coordinators and the people at the COGAT, we came with the criteria. We need to look and see kids that are in the 95th percentile in either MAP, Forward, or Aspire. There, along with a strong teacher recommendation, the teachers then went and nominated students to be able to take the COGAT test. We did it in 2 parts. The COGAT we decided to use because we had such a large group of students to test, is that we did the screener and the post-screener. So out of 360 students, 25 students were nominated to go through the process. And on the 19th, or on the 12th, I'm sorry, you'll see that 25 did, and of the 25, 12 of those went ahead and qualified to take the post-screener test. Now, in order to qualify, you take the screener, and you need to meet the 90th percentile or above, and that allows you to move on to take the post-screener. We just finished the post-screening test this morning, so I won't have those results of the 12, but there is I was pleasantly surprised of the 25, almost half of them went ahead and qualified for the post screener. And that's the point that I want to bring up down here. 4 of the students of the 25 were in the benchmark of 88 to 89. That was such a tough call. Such a tough call to say, gosh, you're so close to that 90th. Should we continue to keep digging? So a lot of those students are still going to be on the radar, but yet they didn't meet that criteria of 90%. I thought it was really important to stay firm toward 90% because if we don't stay firm, then the next year we might do 88, and then, so staying right at 90. But I think that that's an important part. So we say 12 qualified, but sheesh, there was almost 16 of them out of that 25. So the part here, I can't tell you yet of the 12, how many are going to meet that 90th percentile. But based on the 12 that were there, the scores were high. But then again, I can't do that. That wouldn't be fair for me to project that. So once we get that information, we're going to move on and look at the 2021 projections. And the way that has been recommended, and it just makes sense to me, and I hope that the board and the staff agree, that we need to take one grade level every year, and we need to test that grade level. And it's been recommended to start in 3rd grade. Every 3rd grade student takes that COGAT test, not the screener or the post screener. There's another test that's called the COGAT Complete. And that's where they're taking the entire test. That way, that gives us the opportunity to cast a wider net for all of our Sevastopol students. And that includes kids that maybe not test well, maybe wouldn't make that 95th percentile, right? So we're giving everybody an equitable chance to be able to benefit from some programming. So my hope is that we start that next year. My hope is that the incoming 3rd grade class, that we start that, we give that test in September, and we have really good information for that first parent-teacher conference where we can, have really rich conversations about how we're going to meet their needs. Other point here that is really, really important, the teachers themselves said it was very, very difficult to nominate to and have an alternate. There's still kids out there that I know we missed. So teachers are still communicating with me saying, okay, we got to put this one on the list, put this one on the list. The word is out with parents, of course, and your kids that, that parents are going to be able to recommend that their kids get tested as well. So I do see it being a busy testing season, right? So I really wanted to make that point. So my recommendations and the responsibilities. I see a need. The data is there for the need, and I'm just going to say my recommendation is that I encourage the board to consider adding a part-time educator who will serve our accelerated or our gifted and talented students. When I envision this, and if the board agrees, I see a host of things that this person can do to make sure that equity is happening on both sides of the spectrum. We do that for the kids where it's tough to learn. We need to start looking at the kids where maybe learning does come easy. Their needs also need to be met. Some of the things I think are really important that our part-time GT coordinator could do, they can do push-in services, they can do pull-out services with kids. They can co-teach with general ed teachers. They can collaborate with the high school staff to ensure that our AP courses are being offered to kids. They can make sure that our online college courses we're pushing kids in that same direction. And I know our high school staff does that already. I'm saying that this person could also be another advocate for some of our older students to help them realize that this is the direction that they need to be going. The more adults that we can have in these kids' lives, the richer that the conversations can be. They can serve as a mentor or coach for our high school students, having really specific conversations involving the parents with that as well. Again, our high school does a phenomenal job with that. That would be in addition to. Teacher mentoring. This person could also help all of the teachers at Sevastopol incorporate more differentiated options for our accelerated students. Leading professional development opportunities. Right now, I would say that our general ed teachers don't know a lot about gifted and talented, don't know how to excel and enrich beyond. This is a perfect opportunity to do some coaching. So all of our staff get more comfortable on how we can push kids who are ready for it. I also see that if we're pushing the kids that are ready for it, maybe some of those kids that maybe haven't been identified might be able to benefit from that programming as well. So, and again, all kids can benefit from it. Research and implementation into different learning options for students within the school year in the summer. Gifted and talented is almost like a rabbit hole, okay? There's so much, it's so broad. We need someone to be able to dive in there and find what is current, what are people doing now, and bringing that to Sevastopol. Helping facilitate parent-guardian meetings and developing programs to help meet their needs, right? There needs to be a team approach, all right? A student who's going to have accelerated needs that team approach, needs that time dedicated to talk about what's going to be different, what's going to be unique, what is going to push their child. And then finally here, helping with the COGAT assessment or another kind of assessment if the school decides that, hey, there's other better assessments that are out there, but they're there coordinating and administering and interpreting those results. For third grade and the incoming more teacher and parent recommendations, because I'm telling you, I really do think that they're going to be coming in. So that's where I see as a little bit of a vision of what this person could bring to our staff, more specifically can bring to our students. There's a lot of benefits to the school district if we do this. Again, I've said it at least 4 or 5 times, providing an equitable education is our duty here. We can do that here. It's a benefit to our district in that way. We can give experiences, we can challenge strengths, we can, that are not really integrated into their educational experience yet. We can access different differentiated programming for identified students and non-identified students who are looking for additional challenge. Increasing our staff awareness, like I said, is going to be huge. I also see Sevastopol being a leader in the county in order to do this. There's not a lot of schools in the county that have specific programs, right? We have an opportunity to be able to develop one now. There are, and I'm not saying that other schools aren't doing it, but the only one that I really know of right now is Gibraltar does have that teacher, does have that program. Sevastopol can do that as well. I also like to highlight that it was a board request that we do have some gifted and talented programming in our school. And also, if you sat on the strategic planning team, that was part of the vision for Sevastopol in the future, is to make sure that we're serving both sides of the spectrum. And I'm almost done. Identified students are given more opportunities to learn how to harness their leadership, their communication, their strength amongst their peers. And then finally, I think our identified students with strong support and engagement from parents and guardians will ensure that they have a high quality education for their kiddos. And then it comes down to the costs, right? This is just a rough estimate of what I think it would cost the district in order to make this. Having a part-time teacher, 4 hours a day dedicated to gifted and talented programming, you're looking at, I think, roughly around $25,000 a year. And I know that there's a benefit package that goes along with that, but sincerely ensuring that all of our kids are getting what they need is really priceless. So I really wanted to bring you aboard and let you know it's been an incredible journey to look at this. I'm so excited about the potential that we can do more for our kids here. That's all I have, but I'm open for any questions that you might have. Yeah.
Well, is there or will there be any way for a student to get into the program without the test score?
I think so. So there's other ways to, for gifted and talented, you have the academics there, but you also have art. Right, you have leadership, you have, and that comes basically, that's where you're working with teachers, right? And those abilities too. So there's different areas to be able to qualify. We focus purely on the academic piece right now because that was tangible. That's where we could grab some data, we could find our kids. But as we look into those different categories of the art and the music and the leadership, that's going to be the conversation that we will grow as a staff so our staff members know what that looks like and be able to put names forth to make sure that kids are recognized for the strengths that they have.
How does it work to have a part-time teacher and kids sprinkled throughout all different grade levels and all different areas. And how do we get to them?
Creative scheduling, right? I liken that a little bit to what the special education department does, right? They have a schedule, they work with teachers, they know when they can push in, they know when the kids are available to be able to come out. I liken it to something that's already here in school, because our teachers are so incredibly flexible about meeting the needs of kids when they need to be pulled for different things. One of the things I'd like to highlight that our teachers do a really good job is just the communication that they have. So they're ensuring that if the student is leaving the classroom, that they're leaving at a time where they're not missing core instruction, they're not missing valuable time with classmates. It comes down to creative scheduling, and sometimes it's a puzzle.
Sure.
I would say I've been a part of so many teams where where we've had to do this, and we find a way to make it work.
So you might cluster
Yeah.
couple of
Sure.
grade levels that are fairly close together.
Absolutely.
In grades, and then, okay.
Absolutely. Really like the idea of clustering them too, really like the idea of going in and pushing into. I like the idea of other kids maybe going into different classrooms, right? It just shows that we're a community, right? And we're in and out, and it's about ability, and it's not about grade level. So, but that's a really good question, because I know there's going to be some of those that are going to come up in the future, and I anticipate those challenges.
Melissa, thank you very much for researching and getting your arms around the request by this board to look at this issue.
It's my pleasure.
As you now have spent a chunk of time devoted to researching, is there an area that you feel like you still would like some more tutelage on, or resources in the state to help guide you, or do you feel like...
There's so many different programs, and there's so many different resources out there. Finding the match that meets our demographics and our population has been the biggest challenge. Because you can talk to people who have got phenomenal programs, and then they've got phenomenal resources, right? And they've got a large group and a big staff, and they're able to do all those really creative scheduling. So finding a model that really works for us has been the trickiest, and then figuring out, now that we've started this, right now, how are we going to do it next? Because I'm always one step ahead. I'm like, okay, here we are. We've tested, and we've got numbers, and we're going somewhere. Now, how are we going to do it? It's both daunting and exciting at the same time, and mostly exciting. But that's the stuff that, and I've talked to Mr. Lidke about this. I'm like, that's the stuff. If anything's keeping me up at night right now, right? And not in a bad way. It's how are we going to move forward? So implementing it in a way where you're not starting too fast, but you're doing a good job as you're, so I'm not saying full blown, let's go for this. I'm saying where are we, and then how can we, let's slowly implement it, because our kids need it. The numbers show that our kids need it. But I just want to do it well. Just want to make sure our teachers are prepared and that we can do it well. So finding a model, right? And staying current, staying cutting edge. What are people doing down in Madison? We need to be doing it up here in Sevastopol as well.
So right now, based on your numbers, you're looking at currently 12 kids in the school district that would qualify for this program? But you would anticipate, what would you be working with in the fall? How many? 16. Mr. Ludke told me 2 to 2.5% of the school population is probably the number that you'll have gifted to talented
That's
people.
pretty typical.
Mm-hmm. So it's not a lot.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. If you have any additional questions, Dave, I'm sorry you missed the beginning of it.
So am I.
But, any additional questions, I'll send this out to you. Please let me know.
Mr. Dare.
Thank you. We have some unique celebrations. I just wanted to comment. A few years ago we had, I think, 5 swimmers on our combined team. Now we have over 15, 18, 20 kids, and they were able to not only win the conference, but they went on the sectionals and sent a number of kids to state. So that's kind of a neat celebration that our kids can be part of. I shared with you the Sea Perch project, which I thought is really great, creative way of talking about gifted and talented opportunities. That's a neat project that really pushes our middle school students, and we had 3 teams compete. We got first, second, and third. The first place team goes on to another event this weekend in Green Bay. Just want to make sure that everybody knows about the musical dates. Hopefully you can attend Matilda, the musical. It's Friday, February 28th, 29th, and March 1st. So please come out and enjoy that. I just wanted to thank the district for the opportunity to attend the State Principals Conference. I really appreciate that. This year, more than anything, it was focused on energizing your work, which is a really nice message for everybody to hear. Energizing your staff, energizing your programs, energizing yourself, because we all do this job day to day, and it's nice to be refreshed and energized and bring a new look and approach to what you're doing. So whatever that might be, teaching to excellence, redefining your career in college readiness, giving students a voice, those types of things were sessions that I attended, and they were all valuable, so I appreciate that opportunity. The last thing that I just wanted to mention is that Officer Hilsebeck and I are working on a parent internet safety. It's going to go over the 10 most used apps that our children use. It's just for parents. It's going to be on March 10th. There'll be more information coming out so that you can see that. But spread the word amongst our parents, because we really want to empower them to be involved in their students' social media and use of electronic devices. The rest is there for you to take a look at. If you have any questions, let me know.
And I went to a breakout session at the state conference on the internet, and one of the presenters talked about hosting a monthly kind of open door opportunity for parents to always have this special date each month that they can just come in and sit down and talk amongst themselves as peer support around the issue of the internet,
Sure.
but also having law enforcement and administration present to just talk about it. And
Can I add something to that? Do you mind?
Great.
We're starting a parent cafe, and it's the first one is actually this Tuesday. We have over 12 families coming. The wonderful thing about that is Chad Welch, who is going to help facilitate, is open to having specific topics. It might be a way to marry both of
Yeah, we
those
have talked
things.
about that, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, because he's open to tailoring those cafes to what our parents need. And we have, Tuesday, we have our first one, but we have an April date already, a May date, and a September date, where we're hoping to make a monthly, parent cafe. So that could be something that we could all kind of work together.
Absolutely. The other side of that too is maintaining the expertise as technology changes so quickly. I see a lot of it, but I'll tell you, I can't keep pace myself. So I've invited Mr. Tahalski to be part of that presentation so we can learn together and grow opportunities for our community too. So this is an important concept.
I just wanted to mention that Cindy and I attended the Redefining Ready session at the State School Board Convention. It was a half-a-day session on that, and it was excellent. I had it in my report, and CISA 7 is very involved in that whole process. So
you'll see a great deal of Redefining Ready in our action team presentation, because that's kind of push that we've been working on now with that action team. So you'll see a lot more information. We share our action team results.
Great. CISA is a great resource on that.
Yeah, I'm excited about Redefining Ready.
It's excellent.
I agree.
I was just worried, Adam, that I think it's a scary topic, and I think it's great that you're hosting an opportunity for people to come. I worry that you do it once, and
yeah, and parent engagement is really important too.
Absolutely.
We want to continue to engage them. I think as a county, we are sharing that conversation too when we have our regular safety meetings. We talk about, well, this is happening at Southern Door, this is happening in Sturgeon Bay, and we're inviting all parents from any community in case they're not comfortable in their own school, they can come to another school. So,
well, thank you for doing that.
we're working on it. Thank you.
Mr. Yuki.
Most of what I have is in here, but I'll just let you know that it's February 20th, and we used one snow day and one early release. We still have 3 left, so
We do have 3 built-ins.
we still have 3 more built in, yes. And I've been asked if we don't use them, can we get out early and stuff, and the answer is no. So,
We're getting out pretty
What's our fog
early.
prediction, Lisa?
Huh?
What's our last fog prediction?
I look at my calendar. You have to ask Jack and Carter, they keep
Okay,
track of
so
it.
maybe.
Jack and Carter keep track of it, and they keep reminding Mr. Margraf that it's real. You told them it's not real, and they tell him it's real. I'm gonna pass this around, but I need it back because I need everyone. This is an invitation that's going out to the groundbreaking, to the people on the CFAC, our donors, Thermotronics, the FFA.
Smith family.
Huh?
Smith family.
Yeah, the Smith family, the Woods. I did send letters this week to Governor Evers, Joel Kitchens, and Andre Jack, the governor and our legislators. So it's March 27th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to start in the high school gym, go outside, weather permitting. Won't tell you too much more. There'll be some wow factor, and it'll be fun. So be there. We will have 2 new board members coming on in April, so it might be a chance for us to talk about orientation with them. The one has been on the board before, but the other is brand new, so if you think there are topics that should be covered in this orientation, separate from what they might get from the CISA orientation, but more specific to Sevastopol, we'll just send those to Mr. Lukey and I, and you can make a list on
Do we
those.
want as a discussion item next month?
We can have it as a discussion item next month, that's great. That's a good idea. That's all that I have. Communications Committee, February 10th.
I was not at that meeting, so I won't be able to speak to it. I know that their focus was getting the
Getting
newsletter
the district
together.
newsletter, yeah, that was pretty much it that night. We had more material than what we could get in an edition, so that's a good problem to have. There was a couple articles we're still waiting for, but they're working on it this week and getting it edited, and so if your article gets cut, it's because there wasn't enough space, which is fantastic.
And I'm sure they're putting in what was timely, and they can hold some back for future publication.
Right, yeah, our editors do a good job of figuring it
Yeah,
out.
they do. Anything on the budget?
Yeah, on the budget, well, 2 things. First off, on Tuesday, the 22nd of January, Carl and I attended a Baird presentation on forecasting your budget for 5 years. We were downtown Milwaukee from 9 to 3 that day, and the Baird offers a pretty good product there, and it's going to help Carl move it forward, so that's really good. And then on the second page of the budget, if you go under item 254-300 buildings, you'll see we've used 21.22% of our budget so far. When we get to the capital improvement plan, that's the line item where these items would come out of. And also remember, we have $500,000 in Fund 46 for these projects as well. But I just want to point out where that is. It should be on the second page. It's 254300 buildings. So what I'm saying is we have money built into the budget. When we get to those projects, we're in good shape. Okay.
So then did you want to move on to facilities? Or is there anything else on budget?
That's about it for budget.
Okay.
Facilities, we'll get a capital improvement plan. Everything else in the facilities, there's nothing really new since last month. We do have, Michigan Tech students are going to be here on Saturday to do the acoustical study of the 2 gyms and the cafeteria. So there's 4 students coming down with their professor, which is Andrew Barnard, who's a graduate of Sevastopol, and they'll be here Saturday morning taking measurements of sound waves and the gymnasiums and the cafeteria, and then they should get our report back in April. Yeah, they're coming out Friday and they'll be here 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and they think they need 4 to 5 hours, so that's good.
Who's making that happen?
Well, it's our alumni that's helping us, yeah, it's great.
And when do the bids on all that come back?
That comes back on Monday at 3 o'clock is the final bids for the project, yeah, for the building referendum. Lisa and I are going to Nina to the Myron office. They said in the bid process that typically, anyone else who wants to go can go as well. They said typically bids are due at 3 o'clock and they'll start rolling in at 2 o'clock, or when kind of hangs on to the last minute. I don't know why, but we...
Because they're scrambling to make it back.
Okay, whatever they are.
We can't do anything about it, but it'll be kind of exciting
Right, we're
to
still
be
going.
there.
There's nothing we can do.
When
We're
I
sitting.
sell property the same way, the bids come in the last day.
Okay.
Last time.
Well, we're going down.
I'll see how
right
many
away.
bids there are or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
See what you're.
Yep, it'll just be exciting to go and see it happen. Anything else on facilities?
Good shape, yeah.
Did you have anything out of, that wasn't in your legislative report that you wanted to touch on?
Yes. Wisconsin Act 83 will provide $250,000 in 2021 in grants to support peer-to-peer suicide prevention programs in high schools. So this might be something that we would want to take advantage of. Melissa, you referred to the dyslexia legislation. It looks like we're going to have a guidebook.
We have a guidebook, and hopefully within a year.
Yes, yes.
I put that in my news report.
It is not without controversy, but, and I did contact Representative Kitchens in regard to the surplus funding for the state. The Republicans have one view of what should be done with the surplus. The Democrats have another view. The Democratic view dealt with education funding, and I did contact Representative Kitchen's office to ask for his support. It doesn't look like that is going to go anywhere at this point in time because they are about to conclude their work in Madison. Also, there is a federal funding program of up to $50 million for school violence prevention programming. And I'm thinking that some of this might work with our building because it does refer to metal detectors, lights, locks, and other deterrent measures. And Kyle, I have the information on that.
Okay.
There's a short timeline, like April 8th is the deadline for submitting the grant, but I have all of the information here on that. And the base wage increase for contracts as of July 1, 1.81. So something for us to keep in mind. And also, I have an invitation here if someone would like to attend for a computer science talent ecosystem that is being piloted for youth in Brown County. It's a joint effort between CISA 7 and Microsoft. And they're teaming up in the creation of a computer science ecosystem pilot in Brown County. The goal being to ensure all K-12 students in Brown County are accessing dynamic computer science curriculum. And they are inviting some guests to attend. So we may have someone in the computer science area who might like to take a look at this. It's free, and I'll leave this also.
Okay. Then we have a little report on the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Convention. Mr. Lupi, do you want to?
I thought it was a great conference. There was a lot of breakout sessions. The main speakers were really good. The best one I went to was how to stay positive when things are negative, because sometimes I do, in my office, deal with one problem after problem, and I kind of get negative then, so it was interesting. I could see myself on that one, so that was probably my best hour I was in there, yeah.
Cindy?
I thought the conference was amazing. They had wonderful breakout sessions. I know that we all tried to go to different ones, but we did have some overlap. I provided Melissa with copies of some of my handwritten notes because with my interest in social emotional learning and mental health, I was able to get some additional information. One of the mentioned this to Mr. Bear just briefly, but one of the sessions I went to on school safety ended up being a response to Barron County's crisis regarding Jamie Klaas, and it was just edifying one more time to realize just the impact crisis has on schools at multiple levels, and I think you were in that session.
I was in there,
with me.
yeah.
That was just incredible things that we don't think about when we're in crisis, and then the school sustains a trauma like that, and just the ripple effect. And I thought that was quite a session.
Baraboo had a session on their situation with the prom picture that came out in November, so prom's in May, and then the picture came out in November, and how they were in, and they're still suffering from that. It was just the other week, they had another news article about them. It's just, yeah.
It's just that, I guess it's just one more time, when you have a crisis like that, the impact that it has not only on your community and the families that are affected by that, but just the ripple effect to the teachers and the students, and that it doesn't just go away, and they're still dealing with that, and it was a very good session. And then another session that I went to was just on Act 143 around the whole safety of schools, and you mentioned that, Sue, about the new funding coming down by DOJ around improving our schools and our school safety and the different levels at which a school could get really immersed in just the technology around keeping your school safe, and obviously I'll forward a lot of that information onto the building committee, but there again, lots of information, but it was really great, and it's always great to network and meet other people who are in the trenches. I did mention to Kyle, there was a breakout on 7 things school boards should stop doing.
How many do we do?
I reached out to the presenter because they didn't have a handout on it. I did reach out to the presenter to ask for her PowerPoint, and I'd like to bring it back because we can either implement it at the time of training new board members, or we could use it as part of our retreat, or I could just do a quick little dog and pony on it too, if people are interested, because it's only 7 points, but it was rather cute. 7 things you better stop doing. Anyway, it was great. It was a great conference. Thank you for the opportunity.
I did include some written comments in my report that was sent out to everybody, and I just wanted to highlight that all of the resolutions passed at the Delegate Assembly, with the exception of the Native American one, and that got a lot of discussion, both pro and con, and follow-up in the newspaper as well, statewide. So I don't know where that'll go from here, if it'll come back next year, or what the results of that will be at this time. Also, I just wanted to highlight too the importance of the census as far as federal funding. And I think what I've been hearing in Washington at least was that information was sent to the principals in January about how to address this in school, because it is highly critical that all of our families respond to the census, because it influences our funding for special education.
Mr. Barry, you want to talk about Cassie Civic?
Yeah, Cassie Civic is a census taker recruiter, so she's recruiting those people that will be canvassing Door County to take the census.
Great.
And we've had her in our building twice now, meet with our students. She was here for about 6 hours. Met with all of our seniors, because seniors obviously could be in that role. And then she was here for 4 hours today to meet with parents as they came through parent-teachers conferences. So she is definitely helping us build awareness of the importance of the census, and we met with her and discussed all the points that you just made. So
I saw her the other day, and she said she had like 5 or 6 students that were
interested.
And she's met with staff
Yeah.
members too, because it would be a good summer job, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so she's been,
and you can start to work at
she's
your
been
own
at least
pace,
3 or
too.
4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And one theme that I heard throughout, both at the state convention and in Washington DC, was, are we preparing kids for a world that no longer exists? I heard that theme quite frequently. And so I think that's something for us to keep in mind, particularly as we develop our strategic planning and our goals for next year.
It was interesting that the Native American vote was defeated rather soundly in that. I saw the vote count, it was a pretty sound defeat, so.
The mascot.
The mascots. Someone did before, after we had the last meeting and the discussion on meal sharing, I had someone ask me about it, so Mr. Lutke talked to Casey down in the lunchroom, and we don't serve any cold
We
lunches.
haven't this year.
All of our kids get a hot lunch, which is a great thing, because
Good.
we probably that much food would get thrown away. And the other thing that I heard from this individual was the older kids, some of them won't go to the lunchroom if they know they're going to get a bagged lunch because it's a stigma.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to think, so thinking about that, how do we perform if we're hungry? And for a lot of those kids, that's their meal of the day. So I'm glad we're not serving any bagged lunches or turning anyone away. And it's not really costing us probably any more money because we would throw that food out anyway. I think it was Adam that said, he went to his conference and it's kind of energizing, and this was kind of energizing. There's a lot of individual things you can take away from it. But as I sit there and I think, I can bring something back, but often, unless the whole board hears it or the whole staff hears it, we can never implement it. We can think it's a great thing, but we can't get it implemented. And this is not a criticism of Wisconsin Association of School Boards, because they're a good partner for schools. But as Sue said, there's all this talk about, are we educating kids for a world that no longer exists? And we hear speaker after speaker after speaker talk about that, but nobody's giving us tools to implement. How do we address that?
Guidebooks and suggestions.
The speakers can come every year, but give us some tools. That would be of most help for me, in my opinion. So that's convention wrap up, I guess. We'll move to new business. We don't have any old business, so we'll move to new business and the capital improvement plan.
The Building and Grounds Committee met, and I kind of have highlighted here the notes where we're at. We have a roofing schedule around here. We have 19 different roofs. Up for this year's rotation is roofs 5 and 18, which is the high school library. One is the 1965 section, the other one's the 1996 section, and hopefully it'll stop the leaking there, but that's on there. It's good, it should.
Well, I hope so. You're gonna fix it.
And Rox, we're going to get updated bids for those. We are going to need a temporary parking lot for the buses when the building goes up, and that's going to be the practice field off of Rip Road. We have to prepare that area a little bit with the driveway and put a little gravel in there, but that's the plan. And then sometime over summer or fall, we need to get a electric pole out there and run electricity out there, so next winter the buses can be plugged in out there, because we have to have power for our buses to start them all winter long. So that's another project we have going on. No idea on the cost on that quite yet. Door number 16, those are the doors as you come into the elementary gym down the 91 section, and we had estimated $60,000, but we have a price there of $51,821 for Tri-City Glass, and that includes the 4 exterior doors, the 4 interior doors, and the 4 doors going into the gymnasium there. So, in Rock and Dan, Katrina went over to, I think it was Sturgeon Base High School, and saw some doors that were similar to the ones that we're going to be putting in, so that's good. Right now it has fan to it. It's going to be one piece. Yes. That's all part of the project. Elementary gym, we're moving forward with. The entrance doors, which are included above.
That's a $22,000 savings off of that line.
Yeah, it'll be better. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is just what I had for my note, yeah, from when we had it. We did get one bleacher quote so far. We don't have them all. I want to make sure we get a floor cover. I guess I put $5,000 in my estimate. I was told that was too low, so I moved it up to $10,000. But when we get that floor taken care of, we want to take care of that one. That's where we have our parent-teacher conferences, our musical, our play, graduation. We want to put that out to save that floor for as long as possible. Paint it the same as the high school gym, flooring. It's sanded all the way down, and new lighting down there. So the whole shebang, but it'll be less than the high school gym because there's only one set of bleachers, and it's a little, well, it won't have as many banners. And we'll also see what Michigan Tech says about the acoustics down there. That one, for the acoustics, because the sound comes off the stage for the performances and events, they want to work on the north wall some for sound absorption, a little different because it's different rooms. So it'll be interesting what those guys come up with this
So the
weekend.
elementary gym stuff you haven't bid out yet, though? These are just guesstimates?
We've got, 1 week we had 4 or 5 companies come in and they're supposed to be sending, so we have a couple quotes in, we don't have them all in yet. So those are estimates, and basically they're estimates using the numbers we had for the high school gym.
And we took the old hoops from the high school gym down.
They're
to the
down in
elementary
there,
gym.
right, but we gotta get them motorized because we still have the cable that goes up into the wall, and they're not in great shape. They're a little
A lot of
dangerous.
hard work, but we're gonna keep driving on long lead items and stuff like that to get stuff ordered right away, so.
Yeah, and the good thing about the bleachers down there is those bleachers are portable, so we can leave them in until the day the new ones arrive, and then pull those away from the wall and get them out, so we won't have the same bleacher problem we had up here. It's a little easier, but yeah, we are a little farther ahead than last year on that project, but those bleachers are different because they're portable, so
And
that's
are you
something.
thinking of doing this summer?
Yes, it'll be this summer, and the sound system for the play and musical and such has a special outlet that comes down on the north wall. It has a special prong. Anyways, we're going to have to reroute that because that's where the bleachers will go. Because the bleachers down there currently have multiple sections and there's a gap in the middle. The new bleachers would be all one system from baseline to baseline of the basketball court.
They're gonna be permanent?
Mm-hmm. Attached to the wall, just like in high school, we're not moving around. We get in trouble during middle school volleyball when we move them around because we're blocking the pull stations for fire and the fire extinguisher spots, and so we're not supposed to be doing that. We've been told to stop moving those bleachers for volleyball.
So-
From that middle 7th and 8th grade to play this way, that's, yeah.
But don't they use those bleachers a lot for plays and stuff? I mean,
We'll set up chairs instead, yeah. And they can still sit in the bleachers if they wanted to, but we'll set up more
So
chairs.
they're gonna be permanent on that wall?
Permanent on the north wall. Mhm.
Interesting.
And then they'll be electric like the ones in the high school do.
And walkway, like handrail?
ADA, exactly. That is standard, that is required, yeah, you have no choice in those, yeah. They'll be, yeah. Band, choir, storage areas, we're moving forward to that. We had a representative from Wagner here on the 29th of January. We've not heard back from them yet, but we got to do a better job of storing our uniforms, our band instruments. Yeah, if you've been down that hallway in the morning, you'll see how the 5th graders and 6th graders don't get the lockers because there's not enough of
We
them.
were
So-
to determine the year on that cabinet that's back in there.
Well, the additions from 91 of the cabinet's definitely older than that, yes. Someplace between 1965 and 1991,
Which
so.
cabinet? You mean that-
The red one with the wood doors that slide,
We were talking
That's,
about.
that came out of what's the storage room off the weight room now? That's where the band used to put people's uniforms.
so
And that's where the
1965,
uniforms were.
yeah.
I was just saying that because it's time.
Right, and so we will do the same thing in those areas with painting, lighting, and refresh that area. We've been very fortunate over time to have a number of ORF instruments, which are the percussions for younger kids. But we don't have any storage for them, so they're sitting on the choir room floor. So we've just, that area needs some attention, that's what we're gonna do, so. The sound system for the plays and musical, Jeremy Benton's been working on raising some funds. He has $9,000 He's looking at cost of $14,000 for a complete system. We did buy 8 speakers for the play this last fall because the airwaves being the frequency changed, or some cell phone bought at a certain frequency window, and ours was in there, so we're in compliance with that, but he needs to finish that out, but he's got $9,000. I think we can get that by next year. And there's some projects that are on hold right now that we're still on our radar and we'll get to, and yeah, that's where we're at right now. I think that's as far as we can go, 1 through 8, and be okay with what we have in the budget and in fund. Well, Fund 46 got $500,000 in, so that's in good shape. But we're in really good shape to get projects 1 through 8 done with our budget. So, yeah.
Good. Any questions on that? We'll move on then to the funding request from the town of Sevastopol.
We received a funding request from the town of Sevastopol. They are they're replacing their 3 existing tennis courts to 4 pickleball courts and 1 tennis court, and they're looking for us to contribute to that project. Their project is $130,000 estimated cost. Currently, they have $51,000 designated towards it, so they're looking for a donation from the district. I was supposed to meet with Mark Hain last night to discuss how we share the ball fields, so we use the ball fields, or they charge us. He had to cancel that meeting and reschedule it for next week, Wednesday. Dan is also going to be in attendance at that meeting, and so I'll have more information, but they're looking for a donation from the district to go towards the cost of that. I talked to our physical education teachers, and we go over there 5 to 10 days maximum per year. As far as pickleball is concerned, we do that in the gym. We have 6 courts? 6 courts, and we play indoor in the wintertime. The FIA teacher said, yeah, if there's pickleball courts already, they'd like to go in the spring to introduce the courts to the kids, and so they could use it in the summertime. But the funding request, they don't have a dollar amount what they're looking for, seeking. They just are looking for some sort of donation since we use that. And I couldn't gather more information because they canceled the meeting last night, so we rescheduled it for next Wednesday. So my recommendation is table this until next month, unless you feel the need to make a motion at this time. But I
I'll
don't.
move to table.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Yeah. Annual report of the safety of the district safety drill.
Go ahead, yeah, you
In
want to just
our,
break those in, yeah.
On February 10th, we completed a safety drill. All students in the 1K grade support K through 12 were into lockdown. Administrators circled throughout the building to check on student safety. Things that we're checking for is if an intruder were in a building, obviously they'd be looking for soft targets. What we're ensuring is that our kids we can't hear them, we can't see them. So when you're walking on the hallway, it should feel empty. And that's exactly what Aaron said in his report, and that's what we all said as we walked around the buildings. The building really felt eerie and quiet. You really didn't even know where kids were and what classrooms. So our staff did a wonderful job in that drill. But not only that, we've been doing a lot of things throughout the year since our last report, so I just commented on some of those. Probably the biggest change that we made is just retaining Officer Hilsebeck. And obviously Officer Hilsebeck has a contract, a 3-year contract with us, but he is hired by the Door County Sheriff's Department, but he does work here on our site full-time every day, and that's been a tremendous resource for us. Students should feel safe. He is throughout the building. His main priority is just to ensure that our building is safe at all times. He's made a lot of recommendations to us. One of the recommendations he made is the Raptor system, and I think you've been privy to that. We check all community members in before they're entering into our building. There's several other things that they're working on. Any questions?
You asked about doing the kids knowing about it ahead of time. When I was at school board convention, there was discussion. One school did it without telling the students, and they panicked, and some fled, and they had a real mess, you know. So, yeah, it's, letting them know a little bit ahead of time this is the drill is okay, and it was age appropriate depending on age where. And a follow-up, Officer Hilsebeck is coming to our in-service day tomorrow, and he's going to talk about the lockdown, what he observed, good and bad, and go over with the staff. So that'll be the wrap-up with the staff tomorrow. So that's good.
But school safety remains our top priority.
This is the report then that will be submitted to DPI?
Yes, right, this will be the deep
To
dive
meet
report, right.
our annual mandated report?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that would conclude our regular business. The motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Dave?
Aye.
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 Motion carried at 8:04 PM. Go. All right, we are back in open session at 10:43 PM, and I'll look for a motion first on the 2020-21 administrative staffing needs.
I'll move to post the position of AD gifted and talented.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then we take a motion on the administrative contracts.
I move we approve a raise for the administrative team of 3.25%.
Second.
And extend for 1 year. Extend all contracts for 1 year.
And agreed.
Yeah.
Question, okay, so the motion is that we approve the salary increase and extend their contracts for 1 year. Questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Our next meeting is March 19th. And if that's it, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I won't be here.
I make motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned at 10:44 PM.